Mr. Pratap Padode, Sumitji, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, participants, friends, it's indeed a great honor and privilege to be in your midst today, talking about a sector which is so relevant and so important for all our lives. Infrastructure and construction is very much a part of the overall infrastructure story, is fundamental to infrastructure, is the index of a nation's vitality. Infrastructure is one of the main pillars of competitiveness for trade, commerce, industry. You can have a unified agricultural market and you can trade across a digital platform, but ultimately you will have to settle your transaction by actual delivery of your goods. And for all this, infrastructure, particularly highways, are the sine qua non of development. They also have a great role to play in bringing about social empowerment, and my experience has demonstrated that those countries, those states, those areas where infrastructure is good, where highways are good, where the construction industry is active, those are the areas which are more economically developed, and they certainly win any race for competitiveness. Friends, these are truly, as Charles Dickens said, the worst of times and the best of times. The worst of times because our nation is faced with such a huge infrastructure deficit. What we are trying to do today is something that ought to have been done 40 or 50 or 60 years ago. And there is so much catching up to do. And you really realize the value of and the significance of this deficit only when you are stranded on a road, or when there is heavy flooding, or when you are blockaded because of poor infrastructure. But why are these good times? These are good times because I can vouch for it that there is a mindset, there is a thinking, there is an environment today for wanting to achieve what was hitherto impossible. Today there is no conceivable idea, no good project which once conceptualized cannot find fruition. So there is clearly today an enabling environment for which and in which the impossible can become the possible. It is an environment where challenges and difficulties become opportunities. And I'm not trying to be political, but I have never, in the 35 years of my life, ever experienced a time when there was so much liberty to imagine, to reach for the skies, and to be able to try and achieve it and do it. When you look at the highways sector in particular, of which I and my organization are principal proponents today, most other countries reached out several decades ago. Germany in 1938, when Hitler came to power, started what is known as the system of Autobahns, which are today the Autobahns, and all of us who've been to Germany and Europe have seen what wonderful Autobahns these are, where anything less than 120 kilometers per hour would be frowned upon because they are so good. Dwight David Eisenhower started the US interstate program. It was known as the National System of Interstate and Defense Highways. what we know as interstates or freeways. All those who've been to the US would say, as early as the 50s, just after the war, he started on this huge program. And the success of this program is what led President Kennedy to remark that America is a successful country because of its highways, and it's not that it has good highways because it is a successful country. A study which was conducted in the US in one of the universities demonstrated that wherever there was a 10% growth in the regional highways, it contributed to an almost 2% increase in patenting for that 1 year. In India today, our road density is only 4 kilometers for every 1,000 persons, whereas in the US today, it is about 20 kilometers for every 1,000 persons. Today, we have 20% of our highways which are single lane, 50% are two lane, and only about 40% of our national highways, which is a minuscule percentage of the overall road network in the country, is 4 lane and above. The truck speed in India today on an average is only about 40, at best 50 kilometers per hour. In the West, it reaches up to as much as 60 or 70 kilometers per hour. The dependence on the national highway network for both freight and passenger traffic is enormous. We have improved our overall competitiveness rankings, but in infrastructure we are still quite far behind. In terms of logistics, we have improved our ranking in the World Bank Logistics Index from about 55 to 35, but there is a huge catching up to do. There's a huge deficit. And until and unless all sectors of the economy can work together, shoulder to shoulder, we cannot fill up this deficit. The National Highways Authority has embarked on a massive program which I'm going to tell you about. And clearly, not only the highway sector, but the urban sector, the real estate sector, all of them have to work extremely hard over the next few years to build up those synergies which can totally revamp our infrastructure. And until and unless we can revamp our infrastructure, we will not be able to achieve the 8 or 9% growth that we envisage and that we want to achieve. When you look at, and I'm gratified indeed to find some, very happy, positive comments that the highway sector is one sector which is happening, and there is a lot of action on this front. It is indeed true, and this is testified by the fact that the overall sales of construction equipment over the last 1 year has significantly gone up over the previous year. The consumption of bitumen, which is largely used for asphalting our roads, has gone up significantly, more than about 30%. The usage of cement has gone up, and also of steel. The highways sector has been buzzing with positive news. Traffic has increased by about 7 to 8% over about 2 or 3% growth over the previous year. And I envisage that with the 8% growth in GDP, commercial traffic will further increase by about 10%. Not surprisingly, toll revenues of most companies have also gone up significantly over this period. We also find that the work that we are doing in the National Highways Authority of India, which is to, we've embarked on a program to be able to do as much, to award projects of about 6,000 to 7,000 kilometers every year. And I can clearly say that with the vision that I have, I can clearly say that there is a window where we will be bidding out clearly about 10,000 kilometers worth of road projects every year for the next 6 years, out of which we should be able to award about 6 to 7,000 kilometers every year. This is a stupendous task because it involves bringing together detailed project reports, consultants, surveyors. It involves tremendous amount of coordination with the state governments, with the various stakeholders, the departments of environment and forests, wildlife clearances, and ultimately road building is not just about, stitching trousers. It's not as if you can cut, get a huge roll of cloth and you can say that you can do 30, turns and 30 trousers or 40 trousers a day. It is a far more complex creature. It involves human beings. It involves societies, communities. It involves the environment. It involves materials. It involves all of our being. And therefore, because they are such complex creatures, they have to be dealt with great sensitivity. And I'm happy to say that we are pushing ahead with this agenda with the highest possible skill and with the highest possible concentration and focus, which is why you are seeing the traction that is emerging in this sector. Going forward, what is the larger macro picture that we hope to focus on? For one, our effort is going to be to adopt a more holistic approach for highway construction, highway management, and so far the entire emphasis has been on highway construction, so many kilometers a day. How, any party you go to, the first thing person asks you, to aajkal kitni kilometer bana rahe hain aap log, as if it's, you're, as I said, stitching trousers. We are not tailors, we are building roads. And roads run over communities, they run over cities, they run over villages. There are farmers involved. So it's a far more complex creature, but we are moving forward. And for the first time, and this is something that I can take some pride in announcing, that we have started focusing on highway management and commuter comfort. How can we ensure that the highways that we build are safer, they have better engineering design? In the past, there was an absolute obsessive compulsive focus on trying to do PPP, public-private partnership, BOT toll roads, and the planning commission, the erstwhile planning commission used to really get after you in case you didn't want to do a road on a PPP mode. And because projects had a cap of 40% VGF or viability gap funding, which my highway developers here will know about, so you had to necessarily cut off the arms and shoulders of roads sometimes to make them viable. So service roads used to get chopped off. Sometimes an overbridge used to, or an ROB or a flyover would get lopped off, only because you wanted to make the road viable and you wanted to fit it within that 40% VGF framework. Today, I'm happy to say that safety is a big concern for us. And overall, even in construction today, the emphasis is on quality, not so much on cost. And this is a radical mind shift that has taken place. Today, we take pains to ensure that any road that we are doing should have the requisite safety features, that bypasses if necessary, service roads if necessary, ROBs if necessary, flyovers if necessary, VUPs, PUPs, that they are not compromised. Then highway management entails ensuring that the right of way is protected, that encroachments on both sides of the road, that they are removed, and that traffic on the road runs properly. For this, in the days to come, apart from engineering features and retrofitting of our roads which were already made and which lacked safety features, we will also be trying to bring about models where we can introduce patrolling on our roads, and to ensure that in an 8-hourly shift, we should have round-the-clock patrolling on our highways to make them safer, to ensure that we have ambulances on our road, to ensure that medical emergencies are taken care of speedily. And I do not envisage going in for a model where I will be procuring the vehicles or I will be procuring the doctors or the staff. We will be doing this on a PPP model where we will only set the specifications for the vehicles, the specifications for the equipment which those vehicles must have, the specifications for the qualifications which that staff must have, both on the ambulance side and on the patrolling side, and to be able to set up service level benchmarks so that work happens in an effective and in an efficient manner. In terms of the highways to do, what is it that we are looking at? Increasingly, we are looking at trying to improve the competitiveness of those who travel on our roads, who carry their commercial load on our roads. And for this, we are looking at improving logistical and economic efficiencies of our highways. So there is a huge mapping exercise that has been undertaken of identifying where our corridors need to be looked at and improved. So we are not just looking at constructing from A1 to B1 or from A2 to B2. We are looking today at a holistic corridor management approach where we are looking from A to B. So if you are looking at from Mumbai to Calcutta, then we are not looking at little stretches of 50 or 60 kilometers. We are looking at the entire corridor, because it may very well happen that you may have in some parts a 4-lane road. Just after that, you bump into a 2-lane road. Immediately after that, you may bump into a 1-lane road or an intermediate lane, and then you once again have a 6-lane road. And you may have several choke points. So to redress the entire corridor, we need to put in a lot of effort. So consultants are at work, and we have the blessings of the government to be able to move forward and to be able to deliver on all these things. Then another big thing that we are looking at addressing is, where your highways meet the cities. And often the refrain is that, the highway was good, but the moment we came into the city, we got choked. So these are the points of interchange or junction points. They need to be improved in a big way. So the effort is going to be to improve them. Decongesting of our cities is another big program that we intend undertaking, and we've already initiated work on a Delhi decongestion plan. So we are looking at outer ring roads. So for instance, in Delhi, we are doing the Eastern Peripheral Expressway, which connects northern Haryana to southern Haryana, Sonipat to Faridabad. And this is, of course, that it is being constructed, and Gayatri is here and Sadbhav are here. They are aware of the pace at which, the frenetic pace at which work is going on there, and we are constantly monitoring it. And as a test case, we are trying to do this project from about 2.5 years to about 1.5 or 1.25 years. And so far, things are going perfectly on track. Like this, we are going to be doing bypasses for the cities of Lucknow, cities of Jammu, Srinagar, practically every other big city of the country. The Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, for instance, has been after us. So we are building, we have developed a project profile for an outer ring road for the new Amravati capital city. It's a huge project, 12,000, 14,000 crores, where it will be an 8-lane outer ring road like the one in Hyderabad. So like this, there are huge programs and projects which are ahead of us. The idea is to connect the SEZs, the smart cities, the ports, and to ensure seamless connectivity for all economic corridors. Apart from this, we want to improve, as I mentioned, the highway management system. So for that, ATMS or automatic traffic management systems are the need of the hour. And so we are bringing in the best technologies for ATMS on select roads to begin with. As pilot cases, we've chosen 4 roads, and we intend to roll this up and to get this going on all our highways in due course. But why, and electronic tolling systems is another endeavor which perhaps some of you are aware of already, which is setting up RFID tags on your cars and on your vehicles so that they can pass seamlessly through toll plazas. I'm happy to say that today, out of the 360 odd toll plazas in the country, almost all of them are fitted with systems which can accept RFID, and we've already sold close to about 80,000 RFID tags, and we hope to ramp this up to about 50,000 tags a month, and over the next 3 or 4 years to have a situation where at least 50% of the vehicles in the country will have RFID tags and will pass through seamlessly through dedicated RFID FASTag lanes. How has this been possible? Ladies and gentlemen, this has been only possible with extreme involvement of the industry. We are constantly talking to the National Highway Builders Federation. They have a free access to us. We are constantly talking to our contractors, our concessionaires. As and when they have a difficulty, they know that they can get across to us to resolve their difficulties. They can bank on us to resolve them, because we know that the only thing that we want from them is good work. There is extreme transparency in the entire process. We take great pride in the fact that we have a solid, robust e-tendering mechanism where all bids, today anyone can bid from wherever, whichever part of the world they are in, through an electronic platform. And as a success of this is demonstrated in the fact that we have not in the past 1 year had a single major complaint about our electronic platform. And that is one of the features which restores everybody's confidence in the way in which NHAI is rolling out its projects. Otherwise, with the kind of, with the scale of projects that we are doing, it's very easy for anyone to cock a snook at you and to accuse you of not being perfectly transparent and correct in the way in which you're going about it. There are a lot of other projects that we are working on. Wayside amenities is something which is very close to my heart, and we've all traveled abroad and we've seen the beautiful wayside amenities that highways across the world have. So we are going ahead with this initiative, and we've already identified about 200 locations where wayside amenities as integrated structures can be built. It's well within my mandate to build hotels, food courts, retail outlets, toilets, and other amenities, restrooms for drivers and truckers. So all those we are going to be embedding into these wayside amenities and shortly going to roll them out. There are some clearances that we require from the government. As soon as that is done, we will start rolling out and bidding out our first few projects on a public-private partnership mode. We are also in consultation and discussion with the petroleum companies. They've shown great eagerness to take up some of our wayside amenities, but we're trying to finalize exactly the modality for going into it. Then greening of our highways is another area of great interest to people, and especially with climate change and with COP21 commitments of the country, it is particularly relevant to green our highways. So we've set about an ambitious target of, we've set up a green highways mission, and we've already awarded projects for plantations on both sides of about 2,000 kilometers of national highways so far. When it comes to projects which have been pending and languishing and stressed for a long time, we've made every possible effort to restore confidence of industry in these and to restore their confidence in themselves by supporting them to get these projects kick-started again. I'm again very happy to say that out of initially when about 2 years ago, there were possibly something like 50 or 60 projects which were stressed, where things were just not moving. Today, we only have a handful of such projects, and out of those, 5 projects we have been able to negotiate with the banks, despite the challenges that were involved. I think in the next 1 or 2 days, the final tripartite agreement should be signed, where NHAI will be infusing fresh funds into those projects to be able to ameliorate the stress of the developers so that they can restart those projects and complete them. While on this subject, and it's a larger philosophical issue, often people ask me, why is it that we are not doing as many public-private partnership BOT toll projects today? I want to mention that public-private partnerships are indeed extremely relevant and extremely useful for capturing the life cycle efficiencies and innovations, the funding support which a private sector brings in. But there is a downside often, and where the private party is not able to get its act in time, or where the authority is not able to get its act in time and not able to support the private party adequately, sometimes projects languish. So increasingly, our effort in the days to come will be, without compromising and without necessarily jettisoning the PPP process, to also focus on how to get private sector efficiencies captured in some other way. And for this, there is the TOT, or toll operate transfer model, that we are looking at, and for which the cabinet has given its clearance. We may do a project on an EPC mode and bid it out on a TOT mode to capture the private sector efficiency over maintenance, operations of the project. What makes for a successful contractor is a question which is often asked to me. And for each one his own interpretation, but I thought it would be useful for you all to have my perspective. Sometimes when we reflect on some of these languishing and stressed projects, it is not necessarily the best companies which are the most successful. It has got nothing to do with the size of the company. It has got nothing to do with the scale of the project. It is ultimately, construction is a very intimate kind of affair. It is only where the proprietor or the owner himself is actively involved, or he is watching every little step that is being taken, where a project succeeds. So my refrain, my urging to all my friends here is that construction is not as simple as it seems. And people think that they can get into the construction industry, get a couple of projects and hit a bonanza. It's not as simple as that. It requires a very high level of managerial involvement, a very high level of personal involvement, and I have found with my experience that wherever the owners themselves are actively involved and where they are vigilant, they are able to tide over all problems. So I have nifty companies, small companies, who are doing extremely well only because their owners and their proprietors, their promoters are not necessarily looking at making a legal case out of a difficult situation. We do have companies today in the country which have larger legal teams than engineering teams. So it's very important to put in that extra bit of personal effort, It's like the last lap of a good race. You can run a good race and you can be winning, but if you fag out and you're tired towards the end, you will lose. Construction is like that. You have to be constantly alert, and I am very happy to say that some of the companies that have got awards today, they have been those nifty companies which are fresh rising stars on the firmament of the construction world, and they are coming forwards, and I hope there'll be many more like that. I would like to encourage, urge more and more companies to come forward. I think the infrastructure sector has a boundless opportunity over the years to come. I can assure you that the highway sector alone will have work for the next 15 to 20 years. So please come forward. Please put your best foot forward. Give it that extra bit of personal attention, that extra bit of managerial care and efficiency, and I think the sky and the world is open to you. Thank you very much.